right, let's roll. Happy Thursday, everybody. Happy middle of the month. And, of course, tonight, happy homecoming. We are more than excited to be on the air yet again for another episode of the United Podcast brought to you by John Russell Hospitality. It's an exciting evening because, of course, tonight is the beginning of the homecoming festivities. It is the centennial celebration for Gannon Athletics and Gannon University as a whole. And as we learned last week, homecoming is always an important time of year, but this year we're doing it bigger and better than ever. And in case you missed last week's episode, make sure to go back, check out what Jill Chicarino-Beck and Jordan Salai all talked about with their events that are coming up this weekend. We have so much to get to, both on the athletic side and on the university side as a whole. But as we come on the air this evening, we're more than thrilled for what will be another exciting episode of the United Podcast here at Pier 6 Rooftop Bar and Restaurant. Isn't this a beautiful background? I mean, I just kind of want to step out of the shot here and showcase what the Bayfront has to offer. We've really been blessed and really have been lucky as we have gone through the month of September to get to see so many beautiful days. The sun's been up. It's been in the high 70s, sometimes low 80s. If you're a golfer, you've got a chance to be back out on the course. All our fall sports teams are enjoying that nice weather. It's really been wonderful to get to see, and the student athletes certainly deserve it. So here's hoping for more nice weather as we move through the homecoming festivities. We have a lot to get into, like we talked about. It's going to be an episode centered around soccer. We have men's soccer alumni joining us in just a moment for Socktember weekend, which is traditional with homecoming, where the men's soccer and women's soccer alumni come back and get a chance to enjoy some time together in companionship. We also will have head coach Billy Colton on the show. His team looking to pick up their first win when they come home tomorrow night for what will be the first game of the season at McConnell Family Stadium for the men's soccer team. Of course, women's soccer in action as well, with football sandwiching in those two games. We'll get to what's on top in just a little bit. Here's a look at what we have going on for our show rundown tonight. I would be remiss, though, if we did not begin our show tonight first and foremost by recognizing those who were tragically killed in the 9/11 attacks 24 years ago. Our hearts continue to be with the victims and the victims' families who suffered a terrible fate on that tragic day. And as we move forward every single year, we never forget, always remember, and just pray for those families who are still mourning and grieving on this September 11th. Our hearts are with all of those families, as well as all of the friends and family members that are a part of, unfortunately, that terrible day. Let's take a look at what we have on this show for tonight. As we talked about, we got an exciting episode because it is a soccer-centric episode. Men's soccer going to join us in just a couple of minutes. There are some alumni who are going to be stopping by with us to talk about just the excitement of the season that they see from their eyes when it comes to watching Gannon men's soccer from afar. We're also going to talk to head coach Billy Colton to hear about his team so far this season and what the team can do to get win number one on the season when they come home tomorrow night. We'll also have more of a preview of Homecoming 2025 and some of those events in case you missed where they are, exactly where you can go to find those events and more as we roll along here on the United Podcast. But as we talk about every single week, our show is always sponsored by John Russell Hospitality, and we thank them for being a part of our show. We're at Pier 6 Rooftop Bar and Restaurant tonight. Many people from Gannon and also from the community are here at Pier 6 tonight. It's a wonderful night for business, and we want you to incorporate yourself with our podcast, both online and in person. That's why last week, in case you missed it, we introduced the Golden Ticket Giveaway. This Golden Ticket Giveaway is something that's completely different from what we've ever done before, and it's associated with our United Podcast here at Gannon. Next year, we are going to be giving away a year's worth of free season tickets for football and basketball, men's and women's, for one lucky fan, as well as reserve seating for every single game this upcoming year in 2026-2027. Here's what you have to do to be able to be eligible. Every single week, come out in person to whatever restaurant we're at and check out the United Podcast. Then, if you show proof of purchase, all you have to do is show that receipt, and we will enter your name into a drawing that will be a year-long basket, if you will. And at the end of the year, we'll raffle off a free season ticket package for one lucky fan. It's one of the biggest prizes we've ever given out with Gannon Athletics, and we're excited to be able to showcase that today on what will be an exciting weekend and, of course, an exciting months and all year long of podcasts. So make sure to join the United Podcast in person for the golden ticket giveaway. That is all throughout the year. Every time you come to a show in person, every single week, you get another entry in to win that golden ticket. So make sure to join the golden ticket giveaway at the United Podcast today. Let's kick things off with some food, shall we? With our dish of the day on this Thursday in September. Well, we went with a nice appetizer last week, and today we're kicking it up a notch with an entree. Our dish of the day today at Pier 6 Rooftop Bar and Restaurants, the street corn chicken tacos. I've had these personally about 2 or 3 times. It might be the best food item I've had at any John Russell Brewing location, period. These things are wonderful. You get the chicken, you get some of that cheese, a couple jalapenos on the top, and just so much goodness in there. You get 3 great tacos for one low price. It is the street corn chicken tacos, our dish of the day. Anything at Pier 6 is tremendous, but this just takes it up a notch. So make sure today to get the street corn chicken tacos at Pier 6 Rooftop Bar and Restaurant. Today, it is our dish of the day, the street corn chicken tacos at Pier 6 Rooftop Bar and Restaurant.
At John Russell Hospitality, every restaurant tells a story of flavor, community, and unforgettable moments. From handcrafted meals to welcoming spaces, we bring people together around a table. John Russell Hospitality, where great food meets genuine companionship. Make sure to visit one of our 6 locations today.
And as always, we thank John Russell Hospitality for their support. We'll be at many of their locations this year on the United Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Hey, we mentioned it's homecoming weekend. We can't wait to get into all the festivities. We're going to show you what games are on tap in case you don't know the schedule. We're going to talk a lot about homecoming and the excitement surrounding that. But we'd be remiss if we didn't start off with this. Men's and women's soccer love this weekend because it's a chance to get back together with all their fellow alumni and friends that they made throughout their time at Gannon. It's September weekend. If you're a soccer alum, head on over to the stadium, of course, Friday and Saturday night, and then make sure to check in with the head coaches because they got so many great festivities happening this weekend for Socktember when men's and women's soccer return home for the first time this season. And we have a couple of alum hanging out with us tonight. We got Marcus and T from the men's soccer team. They both graduated in 2023, but they're back for more. And I'm excited. I've never been part of these Socktember weekends, but T, you and I were talking about just before the show began that this is a really neat and exciting time, and I'm sure for you being back, it's got to be a great piece of history to reminisce and enjoy this weekend.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's always a good time whenever alumni and as Marcus is sat next to me here, whenever we all get back together and just get to share some of the memories that we shared over a course of 4 years, and for us guys, 5 years because of COVID. So, there's plenty of things that we can always reminisce about, but it's always an exciting time because, you find out what the next person or the last person is now doing in their career, whether they're still playing or, people start having families or different career changes. So, yeah, always exciting.
Man, Marcus, I'll tell you what, it's hard to believe that 2 years for both of you have already passed. It must feel like time's flown, right? I mean, it has for me. And I graduated college long before you guys. I'm sure time's got to feel like it's gone by quick since you graduated, right?
Yeah, it really does, honestly. As T kind of touched on, we were fortunate enough to be here for 5 years. So we've had a lot of people throughout the program, and it's just always interesting to see new people come in, watch the new talent come in, and then see the people you played with for a long time and see how they do throughout the season.
How often do you guys keep in touch? Coach Colton was talking to me earlier in the week when we were getting an alumni watch-along together, and we'll have a virtual alumni watch-along for the men's soccer team coming up tomorrow night for those who can't make it in person. Seems like the group tends to stay pretty close together. T, you mentioned you played with a former teammate overseas. Marcus, I'm sure you have that relationship as well. It seems to be a pretty complete group that sticks together. Am I wrong in saying that?
I would 100% definitely say so. I know we have all kinds of different group chats throughout the teams, but we do a lot of things together. We go golfing a lot together. That's a lot of our big retirement hobby.
There you go.
But we definitely do keep in touch with each other.
So, T, do you participate in those golfing activities?
The most amount of participating that I do in the golfing activities whenever I'm back home in England and I get to take myself to the driving range where nobody can see me swing the golf ball. But that doesn't mean I'm bad. It just means I don't go on a course too often. maybe that speaks for itself, I guess.
You know what that means is that you're disciplined, because practice makes perfect. And there are too many people, myself included, who will just go on the course. Who cares how good or bad they're going to do? Who's the best alumni golfer in the program, Marcus? I'm putting you on the spot.
I can't attest to many people older than me, but I will say I know Aiden Hicks is a pretty good golfer. He's been playing golf for a long time.
I will back my Aussie friend, Joe Knox.
Okay.
He is – I have never seen him play. From what I've heard, by far the best golf player that there is in Ghana.
Well, I'll tell you what, the Night Nation golf outings tomorrow, we may need to do a follow-up round with men's soccer on Friday afternoon to see who is the best.
Joe Knox, remember that.
All right, the names have been put, the wagers have been placed. Gentlemen, I assume it's wonderful to get to be back. T, you're still in the area, hoping to move at some point in the near future. But when you come back for a weekend like this, do the memories start coming back? What's the nostalgia to you guys about being back in Erie for this weekend with everybody around? And just, I'm sure, the feeling that you get when you used to play probably comes back to you this weekend too, right?
I would say, so personally, I grew up in Erie, so I've always been from here, and then coming to Gannon, meeting a lot of people, playing with a lot of people. It's always great to get to come back, not only because I get to see my family, but like we've mentioned, I get to see all my teammates. I've played soccer here my whole life, all around the area. I've been playing in the Gannon Stadium since I could barely walk, so it's really fun to come back and get to see the guys play on the field.
I think nostalgia is a good word that you use there, because it's funny. I was speaking to you before the show started, and you have alumni from back before some of us were even born, and then you have alumni as recent as Marcus and I. And I think it's a great feeling when you just kind of some of us don't play soccer anymore, so it's a great feeling when you can just kind of put those football boots back on, and you get to kick the ball around with some friends, and then before you know it, you're hanging out talking about like I said, the memories that you kind of shared over the course of the years here. So it's definitely an exciting time, and I think it definitely brings back a lot of memories that can be shared between everyone.
We've talked to a lot of alumni on this show who are from different sports, former student athletes who either still live here or come back here consistently, and that seems rare this day and age, where you've got stuff to do, right? You graduate college, you've got careers you want to be a part of, maybe you want to continue to play professionally. What is it about Gannon and the time with your program that makes you want to come back and still support the program? Because we don't see that often with programs and universities. That I think makes Gannon probably a little bit different.
I think I really do think Billy and Mickey do a really good job recruiting players, not only to really fit the play style we had as a team, but they pick great people to bond with. So I think we're able to form a really deep bond with the people we play with. And it really is one of those things where your teammates become your close friends.
And I agree. And to piggyback off that as well, Marcus, you see it from even the perspective of like it starts in the recruitment process,
right?
From the way that the coaches put you in touch with players already on the team. They give you a real perspective and insight into what the program is like. And I think anyone who ends up making it at Gannon already has an understanding and probably wants to buy into the program because they understand what they're going to get from it, not just from a soccer perspective, but I think from the social aspect of the friends that you make. And I think another thing too that keeps everybody close together is the fact that it's funny, like we're in America, but most of our team has always been majority international students, and I think that bond kind of helps everybody kind of stick together and kind of grow that relationship, which I think is a big thing, which why a lot of internationals are attracted to this place. And again, it allows us to be able to play that amazing and that kind of nice style of football, because everybody's coming from a background where they all understand the sport. So I think that goes a long way.
It is so cool, especially with your team and so many teams on campus, to see different student athletes with different backgrounds bond so well and so quickly together. And no doubt men's soccer is among the forefront of those teams. I am going to assume that the excitement begins tonight. You're going to gather around with some of your buddies. Maybe you're going to play a late game. Maybe you're going to find a time to play glow golf at JC Martin Golf Course. I don't know, whatever you're going to do. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of storytelling and reminiscing on all the excitement that you had during your seasons and your time at Gannon. What's your best memory, your go-to, the one that sticks out in your head from your time with the program? Guys, you start with you on this, Marcus, because I saw you had one pop right into your head immediately.
So I was actually talking with Jake Stereo, another former player from the team, about this earlier today. But one of the things we'd always really loved was both of our last years when we traveled to Millersville, and then when we went up to Franklin and Pierce for the national tournament games. And we were just talking about how great of a time it was. We were just you're surrounded with the team. All you're doing is practicing, playing, see the same guys every day. It really puts you in that professional mindset. It gives you a good taste of that professional mindset. So that's always my default go-to memory.
That's a really hard question because you can't just pick one best memory over the course of 5 years. But I think overall, the journeys, the trips, that's one thing. I remember my last away trip, actually, I was like, kind of, we always have a ritual where we play like Uno or cards or some sort of card game on the bus. But, those trips and the jokes, the stops for food, the overnight stays and everything, you never forget that because some people come from places where you never get that. But I think it's the memories you make over the 5 years. But personally as well, for me, it has to be, when we absolutely destroyed our rivals Mercyhurst at home. I think we won 5-1, and the atmosphere was insane, being able to score as well and help the team. And that year we just went on to do great things. And when I say great things, it's unfortunate we never actually came away with the silverware, but it was one of the best seasons that I ever had. But that game against Mercyhurst at home, when we won 5-1.
It's funny that you mentioned that. We're going to hear from Austin Ludwig in just a few minutes later on this podcast, an alum who's playing professionally now in Australia. And I asked him his favorite memory, and he also reminisced back to a Mercyhurst win, albeit in a different year. So it is sad that rivalry is gone, but you can still talk about all the exciting memories of those games specifically. I wanted to ask you guys about Coach Colton because, you and I were talking before the show, T, about just what he's been able to do to blossom the program into what it is now, which is a national powerhouse, a team where if you lose 4 games in a season, it's a bit of a stunner. How have you, from both your time playing and now watching him from an alumni perspective, what has he been able to do for this program that's elevated it so much, just from your experience in the locker room, guys?
I can start off. I came as a boy and I left as a man on the team. And that's all through kind of not just Coach Colton and Mickey as well, but it's through the whole team. But I think individually and, him and the coaching stuff that we've had, for me, the way that I see it is it's kind of in the English nature and the English blood. Coach Colton, being from England, Mickey being from England. We also had Danny at one point from England. I think the culture that comes from, some of the football back in England, seeing that and seeing him and Mickey being able to bring that on board here, as well as having a distinct style of play where he's always kind of grounded that into everybody. And I think the way that he treats every single individual player to kind of tailor their attributes and stuff like that too is insane. And maybe I'm being biased because I was a striker and he kind of helped me become, like I said, a striker who was just a boy to a striker who was a man, was able to make better decisions and also just, be productive in front of goal. So he's definitely brought the program from he's brought the program a long way in a short space of time. And like you said, going with the standards of like losing what, 2 games, 3 games, that's unacceptable at this level too, and that's the standards and the small details that he cares about.
It is that ridiculous standard that he's built, Marcus, but the teams just continue to keep going and make it happen.
I really do think, to tie it back once again to the recruiting, I think that's a huge thing. And as T mentioned, Billy's really found a good way that works to play, a good way that works to win, and he does a very good job of recruiting players that can fill those roles, and even fill other roles on the team when maybe someone gets injured or we need help there. But yeah, I think he does a very good job with that. Like T said, also I believe he does a very good job of kind of altering how you think about the game. I know for a lot of Americans, we come in as the best players from our high schools, and we don't think we can get any better, and then a whole new door opens up, where it's things you never would have thought about, or different play styles, tactics, formations you've never tried before. So
it's impressive actually, picking up on what you said, like how you have a strong starting 11 and then a strong bench, and to be able to bring in enough players that are dedicated to be on the bench and know that they're not going to get regular game time and they have to compete for it, just shows you how, you don't just, most players want to play, but I think when you have a coach that can speak to you to a degree that you understand you might not play and you genuinely have to fight for your place. We've all been there. That was me my freshman year, sophomore year, even junior year and whatnot too. So
guys, it's been a great pleasure. I'm sure this weekend's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully the teams are even in your alumni game. If you need an official, let us know. We'll do our best. but it's going to be a great weekend. Marcus and T joining us, 2023 graduates. Guys, really appreciate you taking the time. Can't wait to see the team this weekend. I'm sure you guys are excited too with them in action coming up tomorrow night at 6:30. But enjoy the weekend. Great to have you both back, and make sure to share a bunch of those memories this weekend, guys. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Isaac. Thank you.
At John Russell Hospitality, every restaurant tells a story of flavor, community, and unforgettable moments. From handcrafted meals to welcoming spaces, we bring people together around a table. John Russell Hospitality, where great food meets genuine companionship. Make sure to visit one of our 6 locations today.
All right, let's show you what's on tap for this weekend. We've been teasing it, so we might as well tell you about it. Starting with Friday night. Tomorrow kicks off our athletic festivities for homecoming weekend because it is going to be men's soccer's home opener. Billy Colton and the squad, with the alumni watching in tow, will take to the home field for the first time at McConnell Family Stadium in 2025, facing ranked Ashland. It's going to be a big game. Billy Colton squad 0-1-1 on the season. We'll talk to him a bit about the game and the excitement around this season as a whole in just a moment. But there is going to be that urgency that his team will play with, certainly, as they look for that first win of the season. That's at 6:30. It's the kickoff of September and homecoming weekend. Then Saturday is the big day with multiple events. Football kicks us off at 1 o'clock. After the homecoming tailgate, they're back home for their second game of the season. Coach Eric Rayburn of the Golden Knights looking for their first win of the year. They were mighty close in that Davenport game in week number 1. Had a nice offensive output in the second half of week number 2. Looking to move to 1-2 on the season. They'll get East Stroudsburg for a 1 o'clock kick. Lots of homecoming festivities with that. Following the game, quick turnaround for women's soccer's home opener. Boy, has Colin Peterson's squad looked really, really good in the first 2 games. They've outscored opponents 8-1 through 2 wins, and now will take on Cal in their home opener on Saturday afternoon / early evening. Looking forward to that game as his squad looks to move to 3-0 on the young season. Moving forward, there are some teams that are away from home this weekend, specifically volleyball. Speaking of teams that look good on opening weekend, Nat Darling's squad lost a tough 4-set match to the defending national champions and then proceeded to win 3 straight, including a 2-0 comeback against Adelphi and 2 other wins in that Garden City tournament near New York City. They're back on the road in Michigan this weekend for the Grand Rapids Downtown Classic. 3 games for Coach Darling and the volleyball team. They get a chance to go to 6-1 on the season if they can come away with 3 W's this weekend. And women's golf is back in action. How about the golf teams? They look tremendous in their victories, both the men and the women picking up wins at the UC Invitational earlier this week. The women are back in action Saturday and Sunday in Columbus, Ohio. The men will also be in action on Monday and Tuesday. So looking forward to both of those. It will be exciting to see how women's golf responds and looking for what will be their second win in a row. By the way, women's golf, kudos to them. They also set a 36-hole low record for a team circuit event. 595 was their total combined score over 36 holes. They smashed that record by 4 strokes in the victory. So lots going on. Of course, lots happening at home, including both soccer programs that return home for the first time this season. We can't wait to be a part of it. It kicks off Friday night, 6:30. Billy Colton, head coach of men's soccer, is going to be on the field getting ready for what will be an exciting weekend because you get your alumni back. You were just talking to Marcus and T. This weekend has to be awesome for you, just getting to see everybody back, right?
Yeah, it's one of the weekends I look forward to most every year because, you know, when they're your players, the relationship's a little bit different than when you see them graduate, and sometimes they appreciate it a little bit more once they've graduated and they miss it a bit more, and you know, all the trips and everything that we used to do, and it's a relationship on more of a personal level, and you get to hear all the stories that you didn't hear necessarily as a coach, but then all the older guys as well, you know, when they come back and talk about playing at Scott Park or the Sports Centre and the vans to games and the bus stories, and it's nice sometimes just sitting and not talking and just listening.
It is cool. And the things that you miss, I'm sure, as a head coach when you're coaching them, because you're focused on winning games and getting them ready and preparing them as student athletes, and you don't get a chance to sit back and reflect. Do you ever get that opportunity maybe even this weekend a little bit, just to get to sit back and just kind of take it all in as to the alumni, the team, things of that nature? Do you allow yourself that moment this weekend?
Yes and no. You try to, because that's what this weekend is all about. And, maybe a bit more so with the players that, I started in 2019 as head coach, and T was part of T and Marcus were both part of my first recruiting class. So I think them ones that you have a little bit more of that relationship with it, and you've seen them growing up and full-time jobs, and Marcus living in California now and making a new life for himself. And so, you try to reflect a little bit, but you also try to take everything in from everyone.
It is neat to get to see just what these student athletes do after they graduate, and just so much of the success that they have that you don't even really think about, because you just assume when they leave that they're going to be and do great things, and they have. And it's wonderful to get to see those two and so many others in particular get to be a part of that. Let's talk the current rendition of the Gannon Golden Knights, Coach. I know that Game 1, Game 2, you end up with a draw to Lake Erie. Tough game over the weekend in a 4-0 loss. Take me through your assessment of those first two games and kind of what you're looking to see improvement-wise when you take the pitch tomorrow night.
We haven't been good enough. We had a very good preseason. Our preseason games went well, and maybe that worked against us, and we was a little overconfident. We had the perfect start to the season where we was 1-0 up after 3 minutes, and we should have kicked on, and we didn't. And then, we're one header, one clearance away from winning that game, and that's just not acceptable the way that goal was scored. And then East Stroudsburg it's hard to say, but that was probably the worst defeat I've had as a head coach, not because we lost the game and not because of the scoreline, but because of how we lost the game. It just wasn't Gannon men's soccer. It wasn't what we stand for. It wasn't our values. It wasn't what we pride ourselves on. And so there's been a few honest meetings this week. The players have had their own meetings this week, and we've had some good training sessions, and we reminded them of a few things of what we value, and we hopefully will see that again tomorrow night.
Does it help when you have a good veteran core in that locker room to be able to help you work through those moments? I mean, we could talk so much about whether it's Sevi, Shoha up top. There are just so many guys that I'm sure probably can help lead those meetings. Do you lean on them in moments like that to be able to help guide some of the youngsters through a difficult first week of action?
It is. And, we've had some meeting with the leaders as well and spoke to them about what they need to do better in them difficult moments, during the game at halftime and them times when they can lead more, because sometimes it's more powerful coming from within the group than from above the group with the coaching staff. And look, we've got good players and we've got good people. So hopefully if we get our performance right, then we always give ourselves a chance of winning the game. Even in the first game against Lake Erie, we didn't play great for big periods of that game, and we still gave ourselves a chance of winning the game. On Sunday, we didn't give ourselves any chance. And that was probably one of the biggest disappointing things. So we'll see tomorrow night. We've got another session tonight, and we'll be ready.
Well, let's talk about tomorrow night, namely that you get to be home for the first time this season. You're going to get that boost in energy with the crowd, of course, with the alumni back and whatnot. There's got to be some excitement to that just in general, getting a chance to be back at home, maybe an opportunity to reset yourselves a little bit. Take me through what it will be like being back home for the first time this season with that alumni crowd in tow.
I think there is, and I think that disappointment of the last game might work in our favour a little bit, being at home tomorrow night. And I'm quite glad it's alumni weekend, so we can, it was embarrassing telling the alumni that we just got beat 4-0 and it was a bad defeat. So now, with the players, the opportunity to show the alumni that was a one-off, it's not what Gannon stands for, and that we can put that right tomorrow night with not only hopefully a good result, but just a strong performance.
Let's talk about in general. It was interesting. I was talking with Marcus and T just a few minutes ago, and they were talking about watching you and the maturation of this program with you as head coach. And they talked about the fact that there are so many student athletes who come from different walks of life. And I want to get your perspective on this, not even necessarily from the game. You have so many international students on this team. You have so many kids that come from different walks of life. They come in and they don't know what they don't know. What has been the key throughout your coaching tenure in being able to get them acclimated so quickly and efficiently and easily into the Gannon culture? I'm just so fascinated by that because you are one of the lone teams that don't have many American players. What's that process like, and how has it been so efficient and effective for you in your time here?
Yeah, and I think we not pride ourselves, but you have to, for us to recruit you, you have to be a good player first of all, then you have to be a good person, and you have to be a good student. And then there's also the other things that come into that, like we want you to be a good member of the community, we want you to know that there's going to be competition for places. You're not going to, we don't tell any player coming in or any student athlete that you're going to come in and play. We tell you it's going to be hard, and we lose a lot of recruits because of that, but then we make sure that helps us get the right people that want to compete and want to be part of a squad that is where it's difficult to play. But we don't care where you're from. We don't care what language you speak. We're just looking for good players and good people. And then we try to find that mix. And our own players, our juniors, our seniors, our upperclassmen, every year they do a great job of helping the new players. They send messages all through the summer and letting them know if they need anything, the questions. And then they show them the high standards when we get on the field. But then they also help them, showing them around campus, showing them where other things are that they need to know, and just helping them embed into the community.
Is that something that you put a lot of onus on those veteran leaders to be able to help them do that? Because one of the things that Marcus and T said was Erie feels like a second home. How important is just ingratiating them into everything, right? The student part is obvious, that comes first. But you mentioned community, you mentioned getting out and about. How important is that aspect for this team in particular to make that happen every year?
It's massive, because if you're not happy in your personal life, you're not going to play well and you're not going to stay at Gannon. So, one of the big parts, obviously, of Erie is the weather in the winter. We make sure that any recruit that's coming from any climate, but more so the warmer climates, that they know what they're getting themselves into in the winter. Because if they don't, after one winter, they're gone. So we want 4-year players. We don't do too much in the transfer portal because we want to build that culture, and we like players that are committed to what we're doing and committed to the university as well.
I want to ask you about your history. Obviously, your time at Gannon is very well documented here. But Marcus and T mentioned, and I'm sure many student athletes will say the same thing, that the play style's a little bit different when you come to the U.S. or U.S. players that are learning the play style overseas in England. You yourself, hailing from England and coming over and adapting and influencing different student athletes, what is that difference in game like? Is there one? And how have you been able to kind of teach some of the new student athletes that style of game? And what was it like for you kind of adapting to maybe finding a hybrid or a happy medium to what you were used to?
It's hugely different. It's the same game but played in a different way. Part of that is due to the rules with the substitution rules in the college game, where you can come off and go back on. It means that the game is so much faster, it's so much high tempo, because you've always got fresh legs on, compared to, when I grew up, you had 3 subs, and once you went off, you was off, and once the sub was on, he was on. That was it.
So I'm not the only one that thinks that the game here is much quicker.
Yeah, it is quicker.
Okay, so it's not just the TV effect.
No,
okay,
it is quicker. And then in terms of the adjustment, Americans in general, I don't mean to stereotype, love the gym. And in high school, they love the gym. And that's not, I don't want to say it's not loved, but it's nowhere near as much in European South America. There's much more focus on the ball. So I think the game here, especially when we play against more predominantly American teams, is more physical. It's more contact, and sometimes a little less about the ball. So you have to find that balance.
What was it like? What is it like finding that balance? Of course, you have a team that comes from different walks of life, but is it changing strategy every year? Is it trying to implement the same strategy? How much of the makeup of your team goes into how you strategize for a year, each and every single season?
Yeah, I think we have our principles that we stick to. There's a few non-negotiable principles, both with and without the ball. And then the players have to fit into them. But of course, everything changes a little bit year by year. We just lost last year. We've ended up losing four players who were 4-year starters for us. They'd started pretty much every game since they'd been here. They understood each other, they knew each other, and they built their own little relationships and knew how each other played. So there's always going to be, we didn't go out and look for that exact player again. We looked for good players who we thought could help, and then little things change and adapt to it.
You have so many alumni that are coming back. Of course, September weekend and alumni weekend for soccer is such an important one. You mentioned it just at the beginning. I think I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about the man that we're going to hear from in just a couple of minutes, in Austin Ludwig, who just recently got named one of 3 former Gannon student athletes that made the PSAC list. For those of you who don't know, Austin, Lauren Myrick, along with Brittany Batts, were the three Gannon representatives as individuals who have done great things on their campus and then have gone on to have great careers. We're going to hear from Austin in just a minute. He's now playing professionally with the Brisbane Roar near his hometown in Australia. Just wanted to get your thoughts on that. I know Austin was such an incredible piece when you were starting your time here at Gannon, and just your thoughts on him being named to this list and what he's been doing in Brisbane with his time professionally.
Yeah, he's has been an interesting career to follow because it took him a long time to get that contract.
And he'll mention that in this interview.
And he just kept grinding and kept working and kept trying to get better. And Austin was a dream to coach because firstly, he was just so good as it was. Mm-hmm. And then he made the players around him better. And he was just a true old school leader. I remember once when him and Declan were our seniors and some of the freshmen, we were winning and we were playing well. And some of the freshmen started getting closer and closer to the start of practice time. And they suddenly wasn't getting there as early and not doing their preparation. I was getting ready to say something, and I didn't even have to because Austin and Declan just took care of it. Mm-hmm. And that's the type of leaders they were. They took care of things before it even came across my desk.
How satisfying is it, whether it's Austin, these guys who you'll see here this weekend, to see the careers, whether it's professionally playing soccer or whether it's doing great in the community? What's the level of satisfaction for you to get to see that and so many of your former student athletes just doing great things?
It's massive. Obviously, at the end of the day, we all want to win games. We want to win as many games as possible. And, them winning games help create better memories at times and different memories. And it extends our season so we get the chance to spend more time together. But, we just talked this week as a team that most of us are not going to go professional. I know that I'm not going to go and coach professional soccer in England. It's just not going to happen. So we're trying to build habits and build people that can go and be good in their community and go and do well in their community and go and help the community and go and build lives for themselves and be good husbands and good fathers. And all that comes down to their habits and, little things like being on time and taking care of themselves. So seeing some of the careers they've had and where they've ended up, it's really enjoyable. And the other thing I really enjoy with that as well is when they start posting on social media and they've still got their Gannon gear on, like a shirt they've had from 4 years ago and they're still wearing it.
It's amazing when you get to this age, and I can relate to them because I'm of that age. You have about 4 or 5 shirts you just rotate through. I joked with my wife, and I do all the time, that I could throw out 95% of my wardrobe. It wouldn't make a difference. I would just wear the same thing every single day. Excited for tomorrow, Coach. I know you're going to have a game plan ready to go. Motivated team you're going to see tomorrow night, 6:30 against Ashland. Difficult opponent, but I'm sure just the opponent you probably want to play tomorrow night.
Yeah, Ashland are never easy. They've got a good coach. They'll be more than ready for us. They'll know that it's homecoming and alumni weekend, and they'll be ready to come and ruin our party. So we've got to be ready for it from the start, and I think we will be.
Can't wait. 6:30 tomorrow night kicks off a weekend full of homecoming festivity games. Coach, have fun tomorrow. Can't wait to see what you guys do in your home debut.
Thank you.
All right, head coach Billy Colton joining us on the United Podcast here at Pier 6 Rooftop Bar and Restaurant.
At John Russell Hospitality, every restaurant tells a story of flavor, community, and unforgettable moments. From handcrafted meals to welcoming spaces, we bring people together around a table. John Russell Hospitality, where great food meets genuine companionship. Make sure to visit one of our 6 locations today.
All right, as we were just talking with Coach Colton, we mentioned Austin Ludwig and his recognition, one of many he has on the campus of Gannon, as one of 3 former Gannon student athletes that was named to the PSAC, made in the PSAC list, having such great careers after college. He was an All-American, was Austin Ludwig, graduating in December of 2020 for the Golden Knights. That All-American status was in 2019. And since then, he's had a circuitous route to go pro, playing with a couple of semi-professional teams before just this last spring, signing a contract with the Brisbane Roar of the top league in Australia, and about an hour north from where he grew up in the land down under. Had a chance earlier this morning, because of the time difference, to speak with Austin on his career, the excitement that he has watching from afar of this Gannon men's soccer program, and what GU meant to him. Here's our conversation.
All right, and tonight we are pleased to be joined in recorded fashion, because he's 12 hours ahead of us, former Gannon All-American standout, and now Brisbane Roar professional football player in Australia, Austin Ludwig. Austin, it's first of all great to get to see you. I appreciate you doing this, and I know it's late where you're sitting at, but
Hard to believe how fast time flies. And I know that I'm sure you just remember yourself sitting at Gannon 5-6 years ago and being a part of that program. How fast has time flown for you? And just take us through kind of where you're at as we sit right now in 2025, your journey since college.
Yeah, of course. Well, firstly, thanks for having me. Obviously, yeah, happy to jump on here and help out. Time, yeah, has gone really fast. I think, like you said, 5 or 6 years ago, I was at Gannon and playing, and yeah, it's gone very quickly. Obviously, I feel like as an athlete, you sort of just count your years by counting your seasons. So yeah, it's gone very quickly. And now playing professionally, signing last year, that all moved very quickly and happened really fast. So yeah, it's gone very quickly, but it's been exciting. And yeah, of course, if I'm playing, I'm enjoying myself, and that's most important.
What's that experience been like, getting a chance to play close to home? Obviously, where you're at, you said just a minute ago, is about an hour north of where you grew up at. Was that always the goal, to come back and play close to home? And if that was the case, how neat was it to get to be achieve that goal and be back close to where you grew up?
Yeah, so it was part of the goal. I mean, coming home, just sort of what happened at the end of university and college. And I played semi-professionally here. And then, yeah, we have one professional team in our state, which is Brisbane Roar. So they're an hour north of where I am. And yeah, I was just playing semi-professionally, doing well. And I thought if they knocked on the door, of course, I would take that opportunity. And yeah, it happened after being home for a few years, having a few successful years at the level below. And then, yeah, last year they knocked on the door and invited me in. And yeah, I've been there now for a year and just starting preseason again now. So it was definitely it was an option for me and something that I wanted to do, but it wasn't necessarily the goal when I first moved home. But yeah, like I said, when the opportunity arose, I was happy to take it.
What's been the key, Austin, in navigating this journey? I mean, you're in the throes of being a professional athlete, and we know how crazy that journey can be, right? We're going to get into your time again in a moment, but you come to the U.S., you play with the Golden Knights, and now you're back home. I know it's where you're maybe comfortable in because it's where you grew up, but it's also got to be a crazy journey. What's the key to navigating that? And even now, as you still continue to do so, playing for your home squad?
Yeah. So for me, becoming a professional at 28 years old, that's sort of the long way round, I like to call it. I would have liked to have possibly done it a little earlier, but that's just not the way it works all the time. How you think it's going to happen isn't not necessarily how it happens. So for me, it was two things: was just continuing to work hard. And then I guess the second thing, and most importantly, was just enjoying my football or my soccer and making sure that I was enjoying it. Still really loved going to training every day and playing games. And I felt as if I was working hard and enjoying what I was doing, that the opportunity would come. And yeah, like I said, it came a little later than I would have liked, but it came nonetheless, and I was happy to take it when they did ask me to join.
Like you mentioned, any chance you get to be a part of the professional circuit is nice. And of course, you were part of the throes of the pandemic. You graduated in December of 2020, so your soccer career didn't necessarily get cut short, but you were certainly in a situation where things were all over the place when you were graduating. And I think that's a good transition to talk about your time at Gannon. It is, of course, homecoming weekend. They have September this week coming up when the men play tomorrow night against Ashton in their home opener. Let's talk about your time at GU. You know, you sent me a quote way back in February when you signed this contract with Brisbane about just how important your time in Erie was. How impactful, though, now that we have you here, truly was it? What was that time like? How did it help you develop? And take me through what it was like being a part of the Golden Knight family when you were here in Erie.
Yeah, so I think there's a fair few elements to it, but I guess the biggest thing for me was, moving almost to the other side of the world. That was a massive move for me as a person and in my football career. And I had a lot of growing up to do, both on and off the field. And I think moving away from home and going to a program that Gannon had at the time, lots of international students, it was the perfect fit for someone like me, being an international student and player, and moving away, but also having the family there at Gannon with all of those international players and of course the domestic players there as well. You sort of, within days, you go from not knowing anyone to having your brothers and your family there in the squad with you. So I guess that sort of allowed me to feel comfortable over there. And the program that Gannon has and had then as well was sort of at a turning point where things started to become a lot more serious and professional, and the facilities has started to improve massively as well. So I guess I was there at a bit of a sweet spot where we really did have everything at our disposal, and we're able to take advantage of that as players and as students. And yeah, like I said, for me, even off the field, moving away from home, from my family, my immediate family, and being able to grow up a lot, that sort of shaped me into the man I am today. And yeah, having Gannon and the team and the people around me there was a massive help in that.
Of course, you had a chance to play under Coach Colton in his early years with the Golden Knights, and we know how much success he's had since he's been with the program. But you mentioned the ease of a transition, and I think that's so fascinating for a homecoming weekend, because you're going to have so many alumni back, specifically from your program, that are either from out of the country or from out of state and are traveling a long ways. How helpful, you touched on it a little bit, but what were some of those conversations, maybe some of those bonding moments that really helped you to acclimate quickly? Because it's not easy for an international student, and I'm just wondering kind of how quickly and successfully those conversations took place that really helped you.
Yeah, well, I think the main thing and the common interest is we're all players and we all love football, and we're all chasing our dreams somewhat in going to Gannon. So straight off the bat, I guess you feel everyone out. But yeah, those first few days, you're meeting everyone and going through your medicals and going through, walkthroughs of the university and the athletic center and everything like that. And you get to know each other. And I think our program, we were lucky enough to have a fair few foreign players and international students. So from, Europe, from England, South America, South Africa, we had a really good mix. Australians, of course. We just had a mix from all over the globe, and I think we really sort of took comfort in knowing that we weren't going through it alone, and yeah, really lent on each other in those early days to just, like I said earlier, become a bit of a brotherhood and a family, be that family away from your immediate family that you may have many hours away. And then, of course, bonding on the pitch, that's the most important thing. And like I said, it's your common interest, it's your passion. So we all love to play. So I remember just, going through those first few days, all you wanted to do was get out in the park and get playing. And that was the most enjoyable time.
A couple more minutes left with Austin, the former All-American at Gannon and now with the Brisbane Roar professionally in Australia. There are going to be a lot of memories, I'm sure, shared this weekend with the men's soccer alumni who will be back. And I know that October, this homecoming weekend is always big for you. If you were there in person, and I'm sure you're still in group chats with some of your former teammates, what are some of the best memories that you would share? I'm sure there are many, but can you identify maybe one or two that always kind of bring you back when you chat with them, if you do text, call, whatever that might be?
Yeah. So like you said, there's many. For me, it was always the games against Mercyhurst. That was our big rivalry. So one that stands out, we beat them 3-2 in overtime in 2019. And I think that all but wrapped up our PSAC West Championship. So that one, was definitely one to remember. But yeah, anytime we played Mercyhurst and beat them, they were our big rivals. That was, extra sweet. So yeah, I remember those very clearly.
Yeah, times have changed, no doubt, but those were games that will be remembered for quite a long time. But things have changed, of course, and they always change for the better. Austin, finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about your award recognition that you got earlier this week, last week actually, being named one of 3 Golden Knight former student athletes to the Made in the PSAC list, which recognized 75 former student athletes who have gone on to lead great careers. And there are many people who are going to watch this podcast that are aspiring soccer players and want to be where you are at right now. And I know you said the route for you is circuitous, right? It's different than you'd like to, but I think you probably have a story of perseverance that you've shared with many. Can you just give a little word of advice or some life lessons, if you will, that you've learned to the younger soccer players and even some current Gannon student athletes that would be your words of wisdom and recommendation as they go forth to try to set off on the same foot that you set off after college?
Yeah, I think my biggest words of advice is what you mentioned, is perseverance. Keep working hard, keep training hard, whether that's during your college career, when you have setbacks, injuries, being dropped, whatever that looks like, but also perseverance after your college career is over. If it's what you really want to do, keep playing, keep training. You'll be able to find a level where you can. And I believe if you do that, and most importantly, if you're enjoying it, the opportunity to play at the level that you can will present itself. And I think while in college, a big thing is take advantage of the resources there. The facilities are amazing, the staff, the help you get with athletic trainers, it's second to none. And I think it's very comparable with the professional scene. So the fact that you have that as a young adult in university, really take advantage of that, because it can, turn you into the athlete that you're not sure or you might not know you can become, and reap those rewards in the end if you really take advantage of the resources and the people around you.
At John Russell Hospitality, every restaurant tells a story of flavor, community, and unforgettable moments. From handcrafted meals to welcoming spaces, we bring people together around a table. John Russell Hospitality, where great food meets genuine companionship. Make sure to visit one of our 6 locations today.
Well, thanks to Austin Ludwig for joining us. Our time from Brisbane. He's doing some great things with the Brisbane Roar, as are so many of our men's soccer and all student-athlete alumni who continue to make Gannon proud even after their time on campus. Speaking of proud, we are proud to continue to get ready for the 2025 CCA Women's D2 Tip-Off Classic. This Tip-Off Classic, of course, happening November 7th through 9th, jointly hosted by the Golden Knights and the Edinburgh Fighting Scots. Make sure to get your tickets today. They are now on sale. The Erie Sports Commission proudly sponsoring the 2025 CCA Women's D2 Tip-Off Classic, presented by AHN Pavilion and directed by the Erie Sports Commission. Can't wait. Going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a pretty significant amount of guests on to talk about this in the coming weeks, including members from the Erie Sports Commission, along with Cleve Wright and the women's basketball team. It's a big tournament. There's so much that goes into it. We're looking forward to it. It's a short couple months from now, if you can hardly believe it. Speaking of women's basketball, we had talked about how a few Golden Knights made in the PSAC list. But earlier this week, in fact, just yesterday, it was announced that Sam Parasco is the lone former Gannon Golden Knight that is one of the 75 greatest athletes in PSAC history. That list was just named earlier this week. Sam, well, the career speaks to herself. She was a finalist for the Women of the Year in Collegiate Athletics, leads Gannon in so many categories, including, of course, leadership being number one, and one of the nicest individuals you will ever meet. Sam Parasco adds another feather in the cap to her amazing career and is the lone female representative from Gannon on the list of the PSAC's 75 greatest female athletes. We will also be revealing the PSAC 75 greatest male athletes coming up next week, so make sure to stay tuned to see which Golden Knights made that list. Well, as we've been talking about throughout the show, it is homecoming weekend, and what's on tap one more time you can expect this weekend is as follows. We got 3 big games happening, 2 soccers and a football sandwiching in those 2 games. Men's soccer kicks us off tomorrow night for homecoming weekend. They have a game at 6:30 against Ashland in what will be that homecoming weekend. September weekend is what the men's soccer program calls it, looking for their first win. Thanks again to head coach Billy Colton and some of those alumni for joining us on the show tonight. Then tomorrow at 1 o'clock, a big one for football. Coach Eric Rayburn looking for his first win as the Golden Knights take on the East Stroudsburg Warriors on homecoming. Going to be a wonderful crowd. Make sure to get there early. The homecoming tailgates a little earlier in the day as well. And then you make your way over for the football game. Then stay at McConnell because the action doesn't end there. Literally 2 hours after the game ends. For football, we play football overseas. That's women's soccer. They take on Cal for what is going to be a homecoming festivity game for them. And in case you haven't had a chance to watch the women's soccer team in the first 2 games of the year, they've been on a very big hot streak. So great. In fact, they've outscored opponents 8-1 in the first 2 games, with Colin Peterson and their squad trying to go to 3-0 on the young season. That's all what's on tap. Volleyball and women's golf are on the road this weekend as well. Best of luck to them as they get ready for another weekend of action. Well, I will tell you what, it has been a wonderful United podcast tonight. A beautiful setting just behind us with the sun setting at Pier 6 Rooftop Bar and Restaurant. Our thanks, as always, to John Russell Hospitality for sponsoring our podcast. And as we've been talking about throughout the year, we're moving different locations each and every single month. So we're here for the rest of the month of September at Pier 6, and then we'll be moving locations in October. But the weather has been beautiful. God has been great to us and blessing us with such amazing temperatures and glorious weather for what is set to be a wonderful homecoming weekend. Just in case you need more encouragement, there are so many events happening on homecoming weekend, and you can go to www.gannon.edu/homecoming for all the homecoming festivities this weekend that kicks off tonight. Friday, of course, a big day. Saturday, you've got the block party, the homecoming tailgate, and 2 Gannon athletic events, and the Centennial Mass ends the homecoming festivities on Sunday. So if you're a Gannon alum, if you go to Gannon, even if you're not a Gannon alum, but you're in the area and you're looking for something exciting to do, we have all those things happening around campus. So make sure to stay tuned, join, and be a part of the homecoming festivities. Our crew at the university and our friends have done such a wonderful job of getting everything ready. So they deserve a little bit of your time this weekend. We hope that you'll give some of that to them. We're back next week, September 18th, 6 o'clock, right back here at Pier 6. Dr. Iwanenko is going to join the podcast and maybe talk about the Black Cherry Coconut Rita's Italian Ice. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to our athletics page about 6 or 7 days ago and watch the video. You'll laugh. We had a good time with him and Dr. Ewing. He'll join the podcast. We'll also bring back our top 5 plays of the week. We haven't done that because we haven't had many home events. That comes back this upcoming week, so make sure to stay tuned. We're looking forward to debuting those top 5 plays of the week, and, of course, much more. We also have a giveaway at our podcast coming up next week, so you can double dip. Come to Pier 6 at 6 o'clock next Thursday. Not only do you have an ability to enter in for a golden ticket raffle giveaway, you also get entered into a chance to win signed football memorabilia, and we'll reveal what exactly that is coming up next week. So make sure to stay tuned for the podcast in about 1 week's time from now. Until then, everybody, we hope you have a wonderful, safe, happy, and healthy weekend.